it's daunting work. Many of us feel, who have seen it, who haven't seen it, feel daunted by it. So Mark, you said yourself, it's a hard listen. For people who are encountering this for the first time, what advice would you give them to prepare for the performance? How should we prepare?
Read the words. Read Berg's words. Think about them. Read them again. It doesn't take long. It really isn't. I mean, the whole opera lasts about an hour and 40 minutes, which is about the same as Richard Strauss's Salome or Electra. And the words, it really, if you just read the text and thought about the text and saw the characters that come through the text, then when you see it and you see the scenes being played out, you're that much further. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the key to this piece, the orchestral scoring is so extraordinary. It's a conversation on its own. But getting behind the text, I think, is the key of this piece. Going behind each word. I mean, it's such intricate scoring vocally. The character sketches, they're not sketches. These are such extraordinary people. Read the play. As we said, it won't take long. I reread it again this evening after a rehearsal, and it took me just under an hour. But the characters are very easy to grab hold of. They're very bold, vibrant characters that we see here, and very brash. The doctor is brash and violent and vulgar, and the captain wheedles his way in with kind of mental drip torture. The text is the key to really getting behind where Wozzeck goes. And we have in this piece 3 playing spaces. We have our playing space over the pit, Marie's house. We have this huge white world clinic, we like to call it, where the majority of the action happens. And then we have the space at the back of the stage, which we call Wozzeck's imaginative escape world. And that's where you see him drift off into many, many times during the piece. And that's where he finds himself most free. He allows the brain to extend out of this kind of clinical world that the doctor and the captain keep trying to drag him down into. And that's the world where you see him being most free and letting go of himself. But by the end of the piece, even the escape into the imaginative option has been closed down. They've shut every door for him, and he's contained and brought right back into this tiny, tiny space.
This has been a very successful production. It won the Olivier Award for Best New Opera Production back in 2003, and then the reviews of the first revival were said it was unmissable, it was enthralling, tremendous.
It remains so.
What is it about Keith Warner's production that makes it such a success in your view, Amy?
I think every time Keith works, a revival is an odd word. Keith comes back. Of course, there are certain marks we have to hit. It's lit specifically. There are certain things that have to happen at certain times. But Keith reinvests in every new artist every time. So you have the Wozzeck, you have the concept, you have the piece, but you have the new artist stepping into these roles, and he allows them to breathe. He allows them to find their ways through the roles. So Simon Keeneyside's Wozzeck is a very, very different Wozzeck to, I think we had Johann Reuter last time. Same role, same costume, same set. New, exciting, both men absolutely fantastic in this role for very different reasons. And Keith really invests in every artist that comes in so they can find their path through the production.
And so Mark, how important is the production to you? When you take on a project like this, how much do you take the production itself into consideration?
Well, enormously. It affects me incredibly how I conduct, what I see on the stage. My eyes are on the stage all the time, helping the singers and trying to understand the vision that Keith Warner has had. Whether or not I agree with it, it's not important. What matters is that we do it together. We go in the same direction together. And he's taken some license with the original libretto, which is no bad thing, as long as the story is told in a clear and theatrical way with great intensity. And I was a bit perplexed when I first saw this white laboratory that Amy has mentioned. It's this huge white clinical but slightly down at heel space, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a mould beginning to appear.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the design, not the fault of the opera. And I couldn't understand how this was all going to relate to what I'd been studying in my mind when I was preparing the work. And if I'm going to get the singers to do it right for the production, I have to understand what attitude of mind the director wanted them to have when he first thought of it. because it can be completely different effect depending on the thought behind it. The imagination has the power to change the voice incredibly. And that's one of the reasons why doing opera is so exciting, is how music can express psychology.
Exactly.